Today, I'm gonna tell you a story. The story of my Charles Dickens books. I have I have all of Charles Dickens' novels and a collection of his shorter works, including A Christmas Carol. Let me tell you why. Let this be a cautionary tale of discounts and book buying. Just be cautioned. I like books. You might have noticed. Years ago, my family had subscribed to this discount book magazine. Occasionally, I would flick through it and see something I liked. One day, after reading Oliver Twist and really liking it, I saw that this discount magazine had all of Charles Dickens' books for the low price of 20 something euro. It was between 20 and 30. It was really cheap for like 16 books. Of course I ordered the books. How could I pass that up? You need to understand that before this point in my life, this was before I had found BookTube, this was before any of that, okay? Before that point, I had never any physical books on my TBR. I was like one of those people who would buy a book and read it, buy 2 books, read those. There was never any books waiting to be read on my shelf. I would buy 1 or 2 books at a time, like a normal human. Anyway, I await the arrival of these books in the post, and I'm so excited when this little box finally appears. I'm trying to show you the size of it. Okay, so I bring it up to my room and I open it up, and like sardines playing Tetris, there is 16 of the biggest books I've ever seen in my life crammed into this tiny little space. I don't think I could even get them out. I think I had to rip the box. I hadn't realized before this point that the average Charles Dickens book has 600 plus pages. 600 plus! When I had ordered these books, I was on a year out kind of thing. I was working the year before my undergraduate degree, so I had some time. And like the ambitious idiot I am, I decided I was gonna read these 15 books, because remember, I'd already read Oliver Twist in the 6 months before I started university. What's that? Like roughly 3 books a month? I could do that. The thing with classics is that they take a lot longer to read than your typical modern book, and they take a lot more concentration and focus when you are reading them. During this time I also discovered BookTube, and I was constantly adding other books to my TBR. Then 6 months had happened and I still had 3 books left. At this point I had started university, and on the first reading list in my first class was Great Expectations. You might think, wow, great, you've already read Great Expectations, you don't have to read it again. But between the first time I read this book and starting that class, I'd read so many other Charles Dickens books that I'd kind of forgotten which story this was. I mean, I knew it was the old lady with the rotten cake and stuff, but like the details were gone. And so I had to reread Great Expectations. Reread it. And I think that broke me a little bit. So those 3 books I hadn't read yet, Bleak House, Barnaby Rudge, and the Pickwick Papers, stayed unread on my shelf the entire time I was on BookTube. About 3 years now. You may have seen them in my TBR tour videos. Until the end of last year, when I decided I was gonna get an audiobook and try and listen to Bleak House during my Christmas holidays. And it was such a relief to get this book off my TBR shelf that I was kind of hooked on getting the next 2 read in the next year. So around April, I got myself an audiobook of the Pickwick Papers, and I kind of alternated between reading and listening to this book, and I didn't like it, but I finished it. And then last month, I finally finished the last Charles Dickens book. And there you have the story of how I kind of accidentally bought all of Charles Dickens books and kind of liked them, but also kind of thought they were all the same. Let me know if you've read any Charles Dickens books, or if you like them, or if you hate them, or what's your favourite. I quite like Great Expectations, The Old Curiosity Shop, Little Dorrit, and Bleak House. Surprisingly, that didn't sound interesting at all, but I ended up quite liking it. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.